Well, it's early in the morning on March 31st. The sun's up, probably about 7:30 or so. We're doing our last preparations for making our crossing the Bahamas. So, how are you feeling right now, Lindy?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You been nervous about making the crossing to the Bahamas?
Not too much. A little bit less than I thought, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm getting used to this sailing thing.
Last night after it got dark and before the sun came up this morning, I was more nervous than I am right now. Yeah, I'm not nervous either. We've studied the weather, we've studied our charts. We're ready to go. I installed the jack lines this morning. One more off the to-do list, and then all these are just notes on the crossing. So we should be ready to go in the next 30 minutes, and then we'll start up the motor and head out of Boot Key Harbor. Let's have a look at what it looks like outside here early. After about a month of preparation, we motored out of Boot Key Harbor. The weather window you choose to cross the Gulf Stream is very important. Pick a bad one and it can be very uncomfortable. Pick a worse one and it can be downright dangerous. The crossing to Morgan's Bluff is 30 to 40 hours, so you're looking for at least 2 days of settled weather with winds from a favorable direction. Friday had forecast 10 to 15 mile an hour wind out of the southeast with 3 to 5 foot seas. The problem was Sunday night into Monday had forecast winds and seas that we wouldn't want to be out in for the crossing. We chose to go ahead and leave on Friday. Plus, Friday gave us the chance of sailing most of the way, and Saturday had a chance of a long motor burning lots of diesel, and I just always enjoyed turning off the noisy engine and hearing nothing but the waves and the wind. Alright, we had the shower bag starting to fly everywhere, and now it's under control. We got a little strap of the head sail out, moving right along. Alright, now we're sailing. Got both sails reefed in. If these seas would lay down a little bit, we'd be a lot happier. Well, we're headed out Florida Reef right now, and then we'll turn east onto our main heading for crossing the Gulf Stream. We were a couple hours into the journey, and the sailing had been pretty uncomfortable so far. Knowing that it would be worse in the Gulf Stream was pretty daunting, and we wondered if we should have waited just one more day for calmer weather and risked getting the whole trip in quickly before the bad weather came in Sunday night. I'd calculated that the Gulf Stream section would last about 10 hours. We're out in blue water now, and guess which one of us feels a little seasick? That would be this guy. Lindy's just laying over there chilling. She doesn't really like to look at the waves. I don't really like to feel the waves at the moment. So I'm hoping it'll pass, or I'll puke and get it over with and then try to get back on track. But we're doing pretty good. We've got the full head sail out now and only one reef in the main. And we're making pretty good time.
So he's still not feeling very well, but I put him in my comfy spot. We'll see if he can take a nap and get rejuvenated. I'm gonna man the watch for a little while.
So I'm feeling a little better now after my little nap. I never did puke, so that's good. Taking back over on watch here, and we must be getting some of the effects of the Gulf Stream because I'm seeing that we're going like 8 knots at times. So we're really scooting along. We got between 12 and 13 knots apparent wind, and we're flying. This was definitely rougher sailing than Lindy and I were used to, but we were making great time and everything was under control. So Lindy, what do you think about passage making so far?
I'm not a fan at all, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not fun. I would agree. This is, I want it to be fun, but it's, you know, there's a lot of motion, and we're sailing along pretty good, but there's swell out here, and we're just kind of bouncing over it. Things are going well, but I feel slightly seasick, you know. Just sort of got to wait it out. We got, what did we say, probably 15 more hours until we're to South Riding Rock, maybe 14 now.
yeah.
We're going very fast, so maybe it'll be quicker than that, but I don't know, that just seems like a long time right now. What do you think?
Yes, seems like a very long time.
So we're definitely in the Gulf Stream now. Conditions have gotten a little bit better. Me and Lindy have felt good enough to have conversation, so we've talked to each other a little bit. That's been nice.
Yeah, earlier I think we were just scowling at each other in the ocean, at the boat, at the wind. We've actually maybe our spirits have been lifted a little bit
because here in the Gulf Stream, we're going over 8 knots all the time. 8.5, 8.7. I saw 8.9 a little bit ago. We're freaking flying. So we know we're going to get there quicker.
Yeah, all of our calculations about how long this was going to take us have been with an average speed of 5.5 knots.
Yeah.
And we're currently going over 8.
Yeah.
So even if the waves continue like this, our time to endure them has shrunk.
That is right. That is right.
We tried to make the best of it, but we were both feeling pretty lousy and uncomfortable. We'd been out about 8 hours and had 9 or 10 more to go before our first major waypoint, South Riding Rock, where we'd cross onto the Great Bahama Banks. And we hadn't seen any big ship traffic that used the Gulf Stream as a highway. Also, the autopilot I had just installed was invaluable, steering a good course the entire time.
Alright, sun's getting low on Holiday. We had a little increase in wind there just a second ago. And we reefed in the sails again a little bit, so we got things under control. Lindy says we've got 54 miles to go to South Riding Rock, so that should only be 9 hours or less. And we're tethered in now, because we tether in at night, tethered to the jack line with our harness, so we can't fall off the boat. And we're going to watch a nice sunset. Oh yeah, and I have to give a shout out to this new autopilot here that's steering the boat and been steering the boat for us for the last 6-7 hours constantly. If it had a mouth, I would kiss it.
The sun setting was beautiful, but we also knew that it would bring on the darkness and the uneasiness that goes along with that.
Okay, so it's gotten dark here and it's 9:24. I was taking a nap and Lindy's watching for ships, and now there's ships all around us, but we've got our AIS on, and you can see here's Holiday, and Lindy saw this ship coming, and so I clicked on it on the AIS and saw that it was Navigator of the Sea, and saw that we were going to come within a mile of each other. So we moved to port about 10 degrees, and it was still looking pretty close, so I hailed him. on the VHF, and he answered, said he was going to pass 1.5 miles in front of my bow if that was okay with me. And I said, sure, we'll hold course. So that's what we're doing, and you can see he's about to go in front of us. So next, we've got some other vessels up here, so I'm going to check on each one of those. Pretty cool. So here's the boat that we called on the radio that we saw on the AIS. So he's going to pass in front of us. Big old passenger ship. So we're still watching for ships all around us. There's some tankers and cruise ships. They seem to be everywhere. I guess they all come out at night. We hadn't seen a ship earlier today. Lindy's down below on the AIS. She's called 2 cargo ships. They're passing directly in front of us. 2 large cargo ships within 1.5 miles. They'll cross and go opposite directions, and we'll shoot right where they were soon afterwards. Lindy, can you give a wave from down there? There she is. So we went by South Riding Rock now, and we're on the Great Bahamas Bank. It's nighttime. We're just steering by our instruments and doing our best to look around and, keep a sharp watch. There won't be any more of the big ships here on the Bahama Banks. You got Lindy's taking a nap. She just had her watch a second ago, and then mine goes till sunrise, and then I'll get to take a nap. It's going very well. We've sailed the entire time. Just motored out the Hawk Channel and then haven't turned on the motor since. Here comes the sun, little darling. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Yay, the sun's coming up. Yay, my watch is almost over. We're motoring along the Great Bahama Banks, motor sailing. The wind calmed down to below 6 knots, and we were just kind of bobbing along. So turned on the motor, and now we're moving along.
The sun has just finally come up just above those clouds there for our first Bahama sunrise. Motoring along, got our sails up, but not too much wind. And that guy taking a little nap.
Beautiful outside. The sea state is so much nicer than it was crossing the Gulf Stream, and even before that and right after it, and overnight on the banks. We've been getting tossed for a long time, and let's see, we've been out about 25 hours now. We've probably got 7 or 8 more hours to go, or something like that, before Morgan's Bluff. So we'll make it by dark if all continues to go well.
The conditions on the Great Bahama Bank were so much better than the first part of our crossing. Before South Riding Rock, the entire time had been 3 to 5 foot wind chop, not even smooth ocean swells. But at South Riding Rock, the water depth goes from thousands of feet deep to just about 15 foot deep as we enter the Great Bahama Banks. And at the same time, we got the lower winds that had been forecasted for Saturday.
It's so clear, you can see right to the bottom. $100,000 cars, everybody got them. He really styles all in it, getting jiggy with it. All right, Lindy, why don't you tell us about the safety equipment that all the crew on holiday have on them during offshore passages?
So we have our auto-inflate offshore life vest, and inside the tubes there is a flashing light and a whistle, and then we each have a PLB, a personal locator beacon, that we can set off, and it transmits our GPS position to the authorities, the Coast Guard, those types of people. We each have a underwater flashlight and a knife also.
And what about this part of the life jacket here?
And then those we attach to a tether. It's a ring.
A harness.
A harness, and we attach to a tether, and then it attaches to the jack line, which runs up the center of the boat.
This yellow line here. All right, yep. That's how we stay safe on holiday.
We motored across the Great Bahama Banks for 8 or 9 hours. The water is an indescribably beautiful turquoise blue. We were headed for our next waypoint at the Northwest Channel Light, where we would exit the Great Bahama Banks and enter the tongue of the ocean.
So we've exited the Great Bahama Banks through the Northwest Channel, which is an entrance to the tongue of the ocean. Now on the Great Bahama Banks it was under 15 feet, and within the span of a couple hundred yards we're going to be in, you know, a few hundred feet of water, and then soon after that 2,500 feet of water. And even in the tongue of the ocean, the deepest part on out is over 8,000 feet. So, and it's all surrounded by the 15-foot banks of the Bahamas, except for one little entrance to the Atlantic Ocean. The water just went from that light blue clear where we could see the bottom to this beautiful dark blue here. And we're trying to get to Morgan's Bluff, which is about 17 miles away. We've been at this a long time. It's a long passage, but we're getting close now. Just a few more hours. And ho!
As we neared Morgan's Bluff, Lindy got out the Explorer charts for one final check, and we discussed our entrance and anchoring strategy.
All right, we're about an hour out of Morgan's Bluff now. I've taken the sails down because they were flapping. There's absolutely no wind. And I put our yellow quarantine flag up, which means that we haven't checked into the country yet, and we're not trying to be here illegally. We're just waiting to check in with customs. So we're gonna go anchor, see if customs is still open, but if they're not, we're just probably gonna sleep because we're really tired. We haven't eaten much because it's just, you know, you're not hungry on passage. And that's it. We're glad to be here, ready to drop that anchor. Lindy's up there preparing the anchor as we're pulling into this crazy looking place called Morgan's Bluff. Wow. Nervous, excited, sleepy, hungry, thirsty. Those are the kind of things I'm feeling right now.
As our successful passage came to a close, we were ecstatic. It was super tough, but we had finally made it to the Bahamas.
I see some sailboats. That would be the anchorage. I'm guessing that's Morgan's Bluff right there. All right, Lindy's putting the anchor down. There's 3 boats in the harbor. They're all 3 from Boot Key Harbor and people we know. That's hilarious. And the water here is absolutely swimming pool clear. Oh my goodness. Wow. This is so exciting.